What happens when a man who's always stayed silent finally speaks? Jeff Bezos' son has broken years of quiet, and his words are bitter. In a video that quickly went viral, Preston Bezos shared a message no one expected. For decades, he avoided the spotlight, never discussing his father or the family's fractured marriage. Now, he has spoken, and his brief words carry immense weight. Why now? What truth is too heavy to hide? This isn't just a family story. It's a legacy under scrutiny. If his own son questions Jeff Bezos, can his image remain untarnished? Share your thoughts, like, subscribe, and turn on notifications for more shocking billionaire secrets.
An heir in the shadows. Preston Bezos was never meant to share the spotlight with his father. While Jeff Bezos transformed a garage startup into a global empire, his eldest son stayed largely unseen. No headlines, no scandals, no social media presence. Born in 2000 to Jeff and MacKenzie Scott, Preston grew up in extraordinary circumstances. By his teens, Amazon had become a trillion-dollar empire, and his father a symbol of power and innovation. Yet Preston remained private, rarely photographed and rarely noticed. Friends describe him as calm, thoughtful, and serious, someone who avoided fame and lived quietly. But even distance can't hide the truth forever.
Divorce leaves its mark, even on billionaire children. Preston Bezos, despite staying quiet, has not escaped its emotional impact. Growing up as the son of a global tycoon and a renowned philanthropist shapes identity in ways few can imagine. The 2019 divorce raised questions, yet details stayed private. No interviews, no media leaks, no revelations from the children. Preston's silence is deliberate, not passive. Those close to the family say he observes carefully, asks tough questions, and forms his own opinions. He avoids the spotlight, yet quietly develops his values and worldview. Rumors suggest he holds strong views on legacy, responsibility, and power, but refuses public attention. Even as Jeff Bezos expands into space and AI, Preston remains in the background. But recently, that silence seems to be shifting. Those close to Preston began noticing a shift, a new energy, a subtle change in tone. The once silent observer seemed ready to step off the sidelines, perhaps to speak not just to his father, but to the world. The divorce changed everything. When Jeff and MacKenzie Bezos announced their separation in January 2019, headlines exploded. What appeared to be an amicable split soon became one of the decade's most talked about stories. Rumors spread, articles multiplied, and a family long known for control and silence was suddenly caught in a media storm. Their first joint statement spoke of gratitude and co-parenting, avoiding accusations or leaks. But within days, the National Enquirer reported a shocking claim: Jeff's affair with former TV host Lauren Sanchez.
Private messages leaked, tabloid photos surfaced, and suddenly, the divorce story took on a scandalous tone. To the public, it was just another billionaire drama, but inside the family, it was deeply personal. MacKenzie, known for her quiet demeanor, stayed silent, focusing on raising her children and her charitable work. For Preston, then 19, the divorce was complicated. He understood the situation, but still faced emotional trauma. The split disrupted the family's balance. Legally and financially generous, MacKenzie received 25% of Amazon shares, worth over $35 billion. Meanwhile, Jeff's public relationship with Lauren Sanchez drew constant media attention, but his children, including Preston, remained quietly in the background. Preston, in particular, said nothing. He avoided events, stayed off social media, and quietly withdrew from public view. Yet, whispers began to circulate. Family friends noticed he was deeply affected, not by money or tabloids, but by the revelations about his father. The man he admired, a visionary who built rockets and mastered e-commerce, now seemed human and flawed. Rumors suggested Preston found his father's choices abrupt and unsettling, hinting at a subtle erosion of judgment. No words were spoken, no statements made, just silence. In that quiet, tension grew. Preston became a secretive observer, quietly taking in everything. Years went by. Jeff expanded his empire, MacKenzie gave away billions, and the world moved on. But at home, the echoes of the divorce lingered. Trust had been tested, roles shifted, and while the media moved on, the real story inside the family continued. Preston had carried its weight quietly. For years, he existed as a shadow in one of the world's most powerful families, free to do anything, yet choosing silence. But all silences eventually crack. For Preston, the first real break came in 2022, not from a scandal, but at the UK premiere of The Rings of Power, Amazon's billion-dollar adaptation of Tolkien's epic. For Jeff Bezos, it was more than a launch, it was a cultural milestone. Cameras flashed, critics watched closely, and the meticulously controlled night reflected everything about the Bezos brand. Amid the glitz of the premiere, one line cut through the noise. Jeff shared what Preston had whispered before the show. "Dad, don't screw this up." The audience laughed and headlines treated it as a quirky moment. But those who knew Preston understood its weight. This was one of the first times the public heard his voice, and it meant more than a movie. A lifelong Tolkien fan, Preston revered the book's themes of power, corruption, and moral responsibility. The issue wasn't the film's quality, but what it represented, the commercialization of something sacred. To him, Rings of Power symbolized a trend he had long noticed, the transformation of legacy and meaning into spectacle. It resonated deeply, echoing fears he quietly felt within his own family. A loss of values in the pursuit of power, and the fear that no one would speak up haunted Preston. His private comment, made public by Jeff on stage, acted like a spark in dry grass. It wasn't just about a movie. It was a son's wake-up call to a father he believed had lost sight of what mattered. From that moment, Preston's presence became more noticeable, even in silence. His name began surfacing in private conversations among those close to the family. Insiders revealed he had long voiced concerns privately about ethics, responsibility, and shifting values since the divorce. The Tolkien remark was simply the first glimpse into a voice that had finally broken the silence.
It began quietly. No press release, just a short, grainy video circulating online, believed to show Preston Bezos speaking about his father. Jeff's son had finally broken his silence, and the message was striking. The clip, under 2 minutes, featured a few measured words. "I was right. It's time to tell the truth." Its authenticity remains unconfirmed, but the impact was immediate. Online discussions surged as analysts debated the implications. If it was Preston, his tone wasn't angry or pompous, just exhausted, weighed down by years of watching and waiting. One line resonated: "Silence becomes a sin when you know the truth." Sources suggest Jeff may have been shaken, and MacKenzie possibly left a scheduled event upon hearing the news.
Nothing has been officially confirmed, and that uncertainty is what makes the moment so powerful. Preston, long a quiet observer in the Bezos orbit, didn't name names or make accusations, but his words seemed directed at his father. One line went viral: "A legacy isn't what you build, it's what you leave behind, and we're leaving behind a mess." Was he referring to Amazon, his parents' divorce, or the toll of power itself? Speculation ignited a media firestorm. Whether real or not, the video spread rapidly, analyzed by commentators, debated online, and taken seriously inside Amazon. Reports surfaced of emergency executive meetings, not over money, but because the matter had become deeply personal.
If Preston spoke, it would go beyond a family tragedy. It would challenge the legacy of one of the world's most controlled public figures. Public reactions ranged from shock to admiration. Some celebrities posted cryptic messages about power and legacy, while one tech founder tweeted, "There's a difference between building an empire and creating something that lasts. Sometimes it takes the next generation to remind us." The family has remained silent. Jeff Bezos has not responded, Mackenzie Scott hasn't commented, and Preston has made no follow-up. That quiet makes the message even more powerful. Viewers and commentators are searching for hidden meaning in past appearances and interviews. Was it a calculated message or an emotional release? Deliberate or accidental? Whatever the answer, the video has reshaped how people view Jeff, not just as a businessman, but as a father.
For the first time, the carefully curated myth of the Bezos family legacy feels fragile. If Preston speaks, the wall of silence around one of the world's most powerful empires could finally crack. Beyond the boardroom, the public is watching, interpreting every reaction. The clip has sparked varied responses, some stunned, others unsurprised. Few understand what it's like to grow up under constant scrutiny, invisible yet expected to be perfect. Preston's emotions resonated deeply. As one social media user wrote, "Watching your parents break up, it's enough to mess you up." Another simply said, "Divorce changes kids, even billionaire kids." Suddenly, the conversation shifted from rockets and market caps to the intimate realities of being a child in a fractured family. Some see his words as quiet rebellion, others as a deliberate step into the public eye. Either way, it's clear this is no longer just Jeff Bezos' story, but the journey of a son finding his voice after years of silence. In a way, Preston became a reflection of the alienation and quiet disappointment many feel. That's why the public cares, because even in the Bezos family, silence has limits. A legacy can shift in an instant. One voice, one brief video, and the public perception of Jeff Bezos, the empire builder, space pioneer, and commerce architect, is altered. Suddenly, a silent son is speaking. If the clip is real, it changes everything we thought we knew about the family behind the empire. The public has followed Jeff's affairs in tabloids, but his children have stayed silent, making it feel distant. When a son questions his father's legacy, it's not just what was built, it's what was broken.